Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm JayDreamerZ, and welcome to Truth in Movies. This is a segment I do where I like to just share my esoteric insight about symbolism that I see when I watch movies. And wow, this one, man, I was actually gonna put off this series for another like couple of weeks, but I watched this movie and I had to break it down. Just want to be, I put 2021 there because it's not Risen, the movie about Jesus, which was done like 5 years before this. This is the new one, 2021 Risen. This movie's sweet. I see everybody in the chat. What's up? Looks like we got all kinds of people showing up in the chat. So I'm just going to give a huge shout out to the Good Vibe Tribe in the chat. Let's check this movie out. So it's called Risen, and the thumbnail that I made here has a little breadcrumb of what the movie's actually about. I don't want to spoil it too soon, though. Let's do some screen sharing, and I'm going to go through the movie with everyone and share with you what I've seen in it. There we go. All right, sweet. So I know some people have said I haven't seen this movie. That's totally fine. I'm going to break it all down for you right now. So watch it, don't watch it, but we're going to review the entire thing. So it starts off, I always like to pay close attention to who the movie is made by. This one is Vertical Entertainment, right? Vertical, like a vertical beam, right? And then, of course, they have a blue beam right there in the middle shooting straight up into the sky. It's blue beam symbolism. And if anything that I say as I go over this movie doesn't make sense to you, just check out my Plasma Apocalypse playlist. It's got a lot of the symbolism in there as well. Why am I talking like that? Did you just hear that? Hold up, time out. Screw, go back. Let me do that again. Let me jump in the chat. What's up, everybody? Dylan Lawhorn's in the chat. Jeez, man, I was just making fun of people who just talk. See? I started to do it. I caught myself. All right, anyways, let's go back. All right. Man, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to talk like... Basically, I heard I heard the way I was talking just now. And it was like I was just doing a YouTube presentation instead of talking to all of you great people. So, yeah, what the heck? Screw that. Whew, sorry about that. If I ever do that again, let me know. Anyways, so the movie starts off with this image of a flying saucer. It's like, you know, somebody's holding it up, but they've made it out of string or whatever. Or is it a flying saucer? Because to me, it's the all-seeing eye in the sky. That would be like a hole in the dome right there. So anyways, they go to an actual real military footage where there's this general, and he says, I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. Because, you know, that's, instead of just saying aliens, they talked about flying saucers and UFOs and stuff a little bit more back in like the 50s and 40s and 60s and stuff. One case, pilots reported that their plane was buffeted, and then they show you like some stuff with flying saucers. Now, you may have seen these lights in the sky. I have. I mean, I feel like everyone at some point has seen weird lights in the sky that we could call a UFO. To me, these types right here that tend to take symmetrical formations and whatnot, and they tend to dart around at ridiculously high speeds. To me, those are just plasma. It's electromagnetic phenomena in the sky. I'm not saying there's no such thing as aliens. There's definitely aliens. But there's also such thing as light and energy. So the movie is called Risen. Now, this does hearken to, for example, the movie about Jesus. Jesus is the most popular person who's ever risen from the grave, probably of all time ever. But there are many, many, many others, right? This movie is about people who rise from the grave. Let's check it out. Now, we start off with your all-American do-gooder family just chilling, you know. They're saying a prayer before their meal. I did take note that they didn't have meat on this table. It's pretty interesting to me. And then they have this picture of Jesus in the background, if you could barely see it right there. So they're just praying, you know. It's a normal day. And all of a sudden, an apocalyptic event happens. The earth starts shaking. All these objects start to fall off the shelves and whatnot. And you can see the statue of Jesus's mom right there. Now, she's an important symbolic piece of this because she also represents the blue beam that shoots up from Mount Meru at the true North Pole in the middle of those four lands on the ancient maps. So you can see some symbolism there. There's the wheel right behind her. You can sort of see the wheel there right behind Mary. Now, the reason that everything starts shaking, especially in a lot of these end times types of end of the world movies, is because traditionally, every time, according to my studies, there's earthquakes. There's earthquakes worldwide, and their whole world starts to shake. And that's one of the first things that happens. And so everything starts to shake, and now the electricity's buzzing. That's another key one you'll see, and especially in a lot of horror movies. You'll see the electricity starts to do funny things. Well, that's because this reset that happens to our world, this apocalypse, is cyclical, and it's electromagnetic in nature, which means that it is fully capable and most likely does create a worldwide electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. And then also, you get a lot of like interference with electricity whenever you have an influx of energy that travels about or floats about. It tends to interfere with our electrical equipment. So everything's shaking, the lights go out, all of a sudden glass breaks. Always look for this. This is one of my favorite little breadcrumbs of symbolism, is when the glass breaks. As soon as you see glass breaking in a movie, you know that it's something crazy is about to happen. Usually it kicks off some sort of apocalyptic event. Why is that? Because of the highest, hardest glass ceiling that we have. It's the glass above us. It's the mirror that you travel through in order to get to other worlds, etc. And when that breaks, that means our world depressurizes. Worldwide depressurization, which ushers in our apocalypse cyclically. All right, so then the dad is like, starts to cough. They can't breathe. Well, there's a few reasons why they can't breathe if we look at this through plasma apocalypse sunglasses, if you want. Or your whatever truth-seeing sunglasses you have. Man, I had a brain fart. What's the name of that movie? They Live. Your They Live sunglasses. But anyways, I wanted to point out the dad's name real quick, because I always like to look at the names of people in movies because they represent specific things. They don't just name people random stuff. If they want to name someone random and their name doesn't mean anything, they'll be like janitor number 4 or something. You know what I mean? But if they name them, it's significant. It explains more about them and the deeper implication of what they're actually explaining in the movie. It gives you a little bit more insight. So, if we look up Robert, which is what Rob is short for, I know you can't see it all right there, but I'll read it to you. Robert is an old German name that means bright flame. Bright flame. It actually, the name is made up of 2 elements, Hrod, H-R-O-D, which means fame, and Barat, which means bright. So bright fame, or famous bright, or famous light, I guess you could also say, right? All right, so then people start passing out, essentially. Now, when this happens, when the plasma apocalypse happens and the world depressurizes worldwide, our atmosphere depressurizes, it's going to suck up a lot of our air, and it might be difficult to breathe. So some people will naturally pass out just because our atmosphere is being sucked up and there's a worldwide tempest circling around our world. And some people may pass out for other reasons, for pure fear. The Bible actually says that people will pass out because they're so afraid of the things that they're seeing. And that's one of the reasons I like to talk about these types of things, is because the more we have it in the forefront of our mind instead of in the back, the more we're ready for these things, the more we're not surprised when there's a worldwide earthquake, or the sky opens, or all of our atmosphere is instantly turned into fog, you know. It will be expected. It's nothing that we will be terrified of, maybe surprised a little, but certainly not those people who are going to have heart attacks and stuff. And then, of course, there's also the gases, the natural gases to keep in mind. So when the earth shakes that much, it's going to release lots of natural gases up from within itself. And there's also new gases that I believe are created in the atmosphere up above. Whenever you have all of that plasma introduced into our world, it collides with the nitrogen in our atmosphere and the other chemicals as well. All right, so the last name of the family is Windlass. Windlass. Man, too bad you can't see it right there. I'll have to fix that. Windlass means device for raising weights. The root of the word comes from the Gothic word ans, A-N-S, which means a beam or pillar. Interesting. Why? Because we talk about the blue beam symbolism. right? When it comes to the plasma apocalypse. This movie is all about the blue beam symbolism. In short, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the blue beam symbolism, first of all, I'm going to start doing Plasma Apocalypse 101, so that way I can just reference those easy 101 videos for you guys. But in the middle of our world, actually, hold on. Let me do the short version. So the short version is the world depressurizes. All of the plasma that's in the plasma sphere around our world or above our world comes down. It grounds itself to the ground. And it's typically seen from my research as being reddish in color or along the red spectrum. And then once it's all done and the world, the polarity goes back to normal, it flips around is what it does. So when it's fully done flipping and it's past the neutral point, then we have all of the energy in and around our world going upwards instead of downwards. Right now it's coming downwards, which gives us blue sky and the stars and all these other things. But when it goes upwards, from the middle of our world, and probably, in my opinion, throughout all of our cavernous areas, plasma shoots up, traveling upwards, and the main portion of it shoots up through the main entrance at the top of the world. This culminates in a blue beam that shoots right up out of the middle of our world, and it looks like Jack's beanstalk, a Christmas tree, the world tree, the tree of life, the thunderbird, all kinds of different things, the squatting man. And that is why these people, you see them, it's not blue outside right now, but they made this scene blue purposefully to give you a blue beam with that flashlight and the blue light. And they're all facing the blue light. It's radiating from whatever just happened outside. Now in the movie, it's like a meteorite or something that hits the ground, right? And they're all looking at it. So then he says, honey, Rob. I think it's interesting they said honey because honey to me is one of those symbols of the people who are sort of in charge of this world, you know. They use the honeycomb and stuff in their symbolism all of the time, and there's good reason for that. I believe that one of the byproducts of plasma is this sort of viscous, gooey substance that if you eat it, does wonders for the body. And I believe that people used to go out on sacred missions, holy missions, to go find these sacred bees and to collect this holy honey that they had or whatever. So anyways, they say that the air's toxic, they're passing out, etc. The whole family's dead. Boom, they die. Now we zoom into a picture of, meanwhile, the Statue of Liberty. She represents the blue beam. She represents the light that you want to keep illuminated forever, the eternal flame, the eternal torch. And then the guy on the TV is literally talking about some sports thing, and he says, look, Phoenix is a good team. You see that? That is written in there. That doesn't just happen to be playing, you know, when they recorded the movie. That's a part of the script. They chose the team Phoenix. They chose the word Phoenix to use right when you see the Statue of Liberty. What? Right? Why? Well, because the phoenix comes from the blue beam. That bird that emerges out of the fire, the thunderbird, sometimes it spreads out its wings. The plasma makes different shapes up there. So it can look like a totem pole. It can look like a beam at first, but then after a while it gets eddies and currents and stuff up there, and it starts to, what looks like to grow wings, essentially. So check this out. They start zooming in. Now, you're inside of the room of this girl who works for NASA, right? She's super depressed. She doesn't like her life very much. We're going to get into why in just a minute. It's because she's so different. It says that this NASA intern finds a new planet. So there's this talk of a new planet, and you can sort of get a glimpse of it right here. You see that little shadowy edge? That's a hole in the sky. Now, that's my opinion, right? But I believe that a lot of people are waiting for Planet X to arrive, and it's going to be this huge circle in the sky all of a sudden, and it's going to be lit up and probably red because it's backlit by the plasma. So naturally, everyone's getting prepared for Nibiru to come swinging on past and almost crash into us, but not quite. But we know that there's going to be an exchange, and aliens are going to jump off that planet and land on our planet. I don't know if it's a planet. I'm pretty into the theory that it's just the hole in the sky opening up. And the only thing we can conceive of, because of our indoctrination at this point, is it must be some sort of spherical object in space, you know. Anyways, experts say we'll have until 2030 to avoid a catastrophe. Ooh, Fireball Tim's in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, light wrapped in a shadow. We are beings of light trapped in bodies of shadow. Our task is reintegration of light with shadow. I would tend to agree with that as well. Or even the acceptance that light and shadow are essentially the same, right? All right, let's keep on going and see what else we have. So we're getting to know this girl. She's the main person in the movie right now. The planet's name, I took a picture of this, is Zen. Well, the planet, right? Whatever. The planet's name is Zen, which is interesting because for me, that's short for zenith, which is the apex, the top, which is right above the North Pole, which is where this planet should be, if it's the all-seeing eye. And it has dire consequences, of course, right? I mean, like, we know these things subconsciously when we have this all-seeing eye symbolism, the circle symbolism, right above the pyramid or the triangle or sometimes inside of it, right? Nobel Prize winner, exobiologist, gets arrested for DUI. Oh, okay, so this lady works at NASA. She's having a tough time about something. You know, she should be having a happy life, but she doesn't. She's super depressed. She has to take antidepressants here. They're talking about the polar ice caps and stuff. Meanwhile, they're showing you how bummed out she is. Now, this girl's name is Dr. Lauren Stone. Interesting, right? Lauren means wisdom. Wise stone, right? This movie is about the North Pole. This movie is about going back to the North Pole, and the North Pole seen throughout time as a place of safety during these cataclysmic events. It's a place where the Native Americans, many of them, have stories where they came up out of the earth, where a reed grew into the sky, right? That's what this movie is about, literally. Anyway, Dr. Lauren Stone, she's watching television, and they say, oh, it landed in northern Pennsylvania. Well, the north is going to be a huge concept all throughout this movie. You'll see. Why? It's because this entire movie is about the tree of life. This whole movie is about the world tree that grows up from the middle of our world and touches the sky. Now, it comes and it goes. Right now, it's gone, or otherwise you'd be able to see it. Look outside and see it. No matter where you are in the world, you would see it because it goes up that high, and it's literally made of light or plasma. But it's in northern Pennsylvania. Have you ever wondered what Pennsylvania means and what a weird word that is? Like Pennsylvania, Transylvania, right? All these strange words that we know, but we have no idea what they mean. Well, Sylvan is where we get Slovenia, and Sylvan essentially means forest type atmosphere, right? It means a forest, or elven, but usually forest. And pen. What does pen mean? Did I take a picture of that? I did not. Let me look it up real quick. Let's figure this out. What? Oh my God. Just work normally, internet. Oh. There we go. Sorry. Pen, boom. Ah, here we go. Pen means head, or like the top of something. So it's the same as like Rosh, like Russia, right? Or Resh. But pen literally means head. So the head, or the top of, the top forest is what Pennsylvania is named after, right? The main forest, the head forest, the forest of forests, etc. And why is that? Why is that significant? Well, legend says that up on these 4 islands that used to be depicted on ancient maps that showed the North Pole as land up there with an area in the middle and divided by 4 rivers, it's also said that there is a magic forest, or a forest where there's magical creatures and magical abilities and stuff. And this is always beyond Hyperborea. This is up in the area of beyond the northern winds, beyond the Arctic Circle. And when I talk about the northern winds, I'm talking about the constant storm that goes around the true North Pole at the middle of the world. All right, so the girl on television, she's doing a little news report about it and says the entire town has just dropped dead. The whole town just dropped dead. And we're at least 50 miles from ground zero. So if they're 50 miles from ground zero and showing you that everything's green, that's also a tip. because it indicates the northern lights or the North Pole. Now, we're also watching this on channel 6. I cut it off a little. You can't see it down here, but this is channel 6 news. 6 is representative of the spiral of plasma that comes down from the sky. 666 is just the trifecta. It's the perfect plasma that comes down from the sky. Let's see, we skip ahead. So this is the girl that works at NASA. She's the one that discovered the brand new planet or whatever, right? She's super depressed. Let me just tell you why. She doesn't feel like she belongs. She doesn't like the world. She feels like everything's messed up. The more bad news that she watches on TV, the more she drinks more. And you know what? I feel like a lot of us could relate to that. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, some military guy's like, you're urgently needed. Oh, you've been recalled. You have to come with us right now. So she goes to this guy and starts talking to him and introduces her and her new partner, who are going to go check out this crash site. Now, look at this crash site, okay? They're taking this road remember, this is Pennsylvania, right? I've never been to Pennsylvania, but that's an interesting shot right there, right? Anyways, this road that they're taking goes all the way up to these mountains, this mountain range. Now, at the North Pole on the old maps, it's also said that if you look at it, the whole of the 4 islands is surrounded by a mountain range. Essentially, it's a huge valley, right? And then you have a huge mountain range right here. Or this could also be symbolic of like a caldera, like the top of a volcano, etc. You're super welcome, Issa. All right, so let's keep on moving. So they get to this part. This is symbolic of the plasma volcano. This is the point at which this alien meteorite has crashed or whatever. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, from my perspective, this movie is not about a meteorite. It's not about seeding the planet or anything like that. It's symbolic. And this right here is symbolic of the plasma volcano itself. This is ground zero. This is the middle of the world, symbolically speaking. Just like this would be Alice's rabbit hole that she tumbles down and falls into a totally different world, right? Now, this lady goes down into it, the NASA lady, and she sees this little seedling. Can you see that right there? This little red-looking purpley plant. As she moves her hand, you can see it better now. It looks just like the letter Y. This plant is growing up and then splits off into 2, and it's red. They did that purposefully. Why? Not just because, an alien plant, just, red would be a good color for an alien plant. It could be all kinds of different colors if that's the case, right? But take a good look at the shape, because we have seen this shape all over the place for our entire lives. It's not just like the letter Y or whatever, but it comes from the ancient Phoenician letter or number 6, which is pronounced Vav. It's also pronounced wow or wow. So if you ever wonder where that word came from, there you go. Anyways, a long time ago, the number 6 and the letter Vav, which today equates to the letters U, W, V, and sometimes F. Right? We've gone over that a few times here on my channel as well, but it looks like this, right? It was known as being the tent peg. We've talked about this particular symbol quite a few times, and that is the exact same shape as the flux capacitor, which is what makes time travel possible. Because if you survive the plasma apocalypse, you will think you just traveled through time, because you will go from the world looking like it is today to looking like you're on Mars. Total destruction, red sky, weird creatures everywhere. Like, you'll think you time traveled, essentially. So she gets down there. She was going to pull this plant up out of the ground, but this plant is the only thing in this messed up world that she actually gets. She resonates with this plant. She's staring at this plant, and it's this alien life form that's just tiny, and the government wants her to just pluck it out so they can examine it or whatever. She doesn't. She just stares at it. She's in awe of it. It's the only thing that sparks up a feeling of life inside of her. She knows why. It's because there's something there. So they do this little shot where they pan out, and they're constantly showing you the all-seeing eye. It's like what do you call that when they hide little images when they sell you stuff? This is the same concept. Okay, they did this all the time in the movies. They put the all-seeing eye in there, like, for your subconscious to pick up on. Your conscious mind is just seeing them zoom out of the crater, but your subconscious is like, that's an eyeball. That's a hole in the sky, basically. Excuse me. All right, so what does the lady do, right? She knows that the government just ordered her to go check out this alien crash site. She just found some weird plants in there. So she starts researching herself. Now, she represents us. I know she works for NASA and all that stuff, and so many people just hate NASA. Fine, whatever. But this lady in the movie represents those of us who struggle inside because we do go against the grain. Because we are different in this world. We're black sheep. The whole world is nuts and upside down and makes no sense to us. Except for like when we watch movies and stuff. Then all of a sudden we can just get a little dose of normalcy, you know. Anyways. So she starts Googling it. This is their version of Google here. And she types in recent meteorite events. And then boom, it comes up right here. Russian meteor. Boom, 2013. It's the Chelyabinsk Russian meteor. Now that's actually real. So she starts watching videos on it. This happened back in 2013. You may have remembered where all of a sudden there's this huge meteor over Russia and boom, everyone's windows blew out and stuff. How is that not still being talked about? You know what I mean? That's pretty significant. That was like Armageddon, like the movie Armageddon, right? That was insane. And it was caught on so many angles and everything. So she catches this little comment that says, "What is Russia hiding? Quick, watch this before they delete it." So it turns out this one is probably not actually clickbait. Like most of them, YouTubers, stop typing that crap in your titles. Stop doing that. Some of you guys have great videos. You don't need clickbait titles. Just type in what it's freaking about, dude. Man. Anyways, so I actually did a little research on it right there, right alongside the protagonist of the movie. She's researching it. I'm researching it. Everyone's having a good time. Now, I'm going to read this to you because it's a little difficult to see on the screen, but it says in 1945, around 40,000 prisoners. Now, this is way before this meteorite was, flying through the air in 2013. In 1945, around 40,000 prisoners were taken from 12 labor camps and together with nuclear scientists began construction of the underground nuclear facility. The Russian convicts agreed to work there in exchange for a lesser sentence. So check this out. Long time ago, back in 1945, in remote areas of Russia, they told all these convicts, hey, you can do hard labor for 25 years, or you can just come work at our nuclear facility that we're building for 5, right? Okay, let's keep on reading and see what it says here. They were given the choice to work 25 years hard labor in Siberia or do 5 years underground in city number 40. The first nuclear reactor was built in 18 months, and additional nearby facilities would be constructed around the area later named Ozersk. Little did the construction workers know that they were signing themselves up for a death sentence. No one would live beyond the 5 years, having exposed themselves to such great levels of radiation. And then the article gets really interesting. It goes on to say this city was not put on maps. And in the official Soviet census, its residents did not exist. The same exact city where that fireball hit and landed, it gets crazier. Check this out. The city, which is now called Ozersk, was once codenamed City Number 40 or Chelyabinsk 40. Chelyabinsk 65 in later years. It was the birthplace of the Soviet nuclear weapons program and is now known to be one of the most contaminated places on the planet. This city is called a closed city. Yeah, the one that just happened to be the one where that fireball landed and stuff. You can't really go there unless you have good reason. It's closed, right? It's really weird too because they say it's one of the deadliest cities to live in the world because of the radiation. But it seems like the government has convinced the people that live there that they're super special to be able to live there, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So she starts watching this YouTube video where this Russian lady's being interviewed. And the guy asks her, one side of the town is barricaded. And some sort of a tree grew out of the meteor that landed. But it doesn't exist anymore. They destroyed it. So there was a tree that grew up and they destroyed it for some reason. Now, he says a tree. What kind of tree? Now all of a sudden a tree is being talked about as if like that should be any area of concern for the military or anybody, right? A tree. Unless you know the truth, it doesn't really make for the best storytelling, really. Like, so what? A tree grew up out of the ground. That's lame in and of itself. Unless it represents something more, a special tree. Unless we're talking about the tree of life or the world tree. You mentioned a seed. Tell me more about this seed. And then it says, the town is barricaded, but no one talks about it, which is true. Nobody does. Here's a picture of the one that landed in the Soviet area. Same little mound that you see there. And then soon after this is the movie now, the woman was shot dead because she had spilled the beans on what happened, right? So they go to this autopsy. Remember that family that was praying at their dinner or whatever at the beginning? They died. Remember? So they're doing an autopsy right now. They said that they're going to go over all the steps, check out all the body parts. This guy's laying there on the slab. She's like, the skin seems normal. He's like, yeah, way too normal if you ask me. And he doesn't have rigor mortis. So she cuts him and he has like this weird blue blood that like ekes out. But you can't really see it in the picture. The picture doesn't do it justice. But there's actually plasma. Like it's like the blood has light inside of it. And you can see the light emanating from the blood itself. So it's really interesting. And you see his color, right? He doesn't have rigor mortis or anything, so they made him this color on purpose. I guess it could be one to indicate that he's dead, but if he has rigor mortis and he's got blood and, I mean, he doesn't have rigor mortis, which is when your body gets all stiff when you die, right? It means you're loose. It means your blood's flowing and you're fine, right? He shouldn't really be this pale white color. Interesting. So the blood actually gets sucked right back up into this dude's body, and his body seals itself back up after she makes this incision. And the other guy's like, I got to get out of here. I got to leave the room. The dead guy sits up, comes back to life. He is now risen. But he just sits there. He doesn't really do anything. He just stares at the ground for a while, like he's waiting to be put back into Westworld or something. He's just sitting there chilling. She's like, there's no pulse. The body's cold. How is this possible? Well, we know how it's possible, right? He's one of the guys that was nearby whenever the blue beam sprouted or whenever that meteor hit, right? However the movies want to tell it. So then they're like, hey, this is happening everywhere. All of these people that died, they're all standing there in the morgue staring. They're all alive. They've all woken up. They have all risen. The reporter says these people were examined and pronounced dead 2 nights ago. So I took a picture of Westworld because it's totally what it reminds me of, right? All the dead sort of coming back to life and just standing there and, not really being alive. Let's see. And she goes on to say they're now once again alive. They came back. They came back to life. So they start trying to show pictures to the dead people to see if they can reanimate them or snap them out of it or whatever. But that's not what's going on. Just like I've been talking about, when the dead come back to life, for the most part, that's not the same person. Okay, it's the same body, yeah, but it's a different spirit that's inside of it for the most part. There's always exceptions, right? But it's they're thralls to the plasma. That's what's going on. Now, there could be more exceptions to that. I don't know, but I do know that in the movie, they're out of it. They're dead, and they don't recognize their family or anybody. So here's the mayor, here's the big shot lady who's in charge of all this. And she says, what happened to the rest of the town? Because only like 40 something out of 300 and something people resurrected. The rest of them stayed dead. This guy back here says, we do have a theory, ma'am. And she goes, enlighten me. Oh, now you want to hear theories. Now you want to start listening to speculation and theories and wonderings and philosophy, huh? Ah, I see. Right? All of a sudden, it's super important when the world's upside down for them. And they're like, we don't understand. We don't understand. Well, we've got some theories for you. The 49 Badger victims, that's the town. The town's name is Badger, who were resurrected, resided in close proximity of the initial explosion, right? So if you look at this through plasma apocalypse eyes, the explosion is when the blue beam explodes and shoots up into the sky, essentially, right? These people were all in proximity to it, and they were all resurrected. Now, these victims didn't just inhale the toxic air, but they also swallowed a substance which was spread from the explosion. Now, this blue beam is also known as the fountain of youth. Why would it be called a fountain unless it makes it rain all the way around it, right? Unless particles drop off and are shot out from this plasma that's shooting up everywhere, right? And these people, symbolically, were nearby. They swallowed some of this substance, which I believe is the sacred bee honey, if you want to call it that. And she says, what kind of substance? It's the fragments of the meteorite. Well, if the meteorite is the blue beam, then yes, it's little pieces of the blue beam, essentially. It's pure concentrated plasma, right? However, it's charged. If it's charged towards the negative, then you'll have pure concentrated evil. If it's, if it's concentrated towards the other side of things, you'll have pure concentrated good. So it says, which resulted in transforming their internal organs. By the way, they seem to be doing that a lot. Hold on, let me go back a step. So this substance was transforming their internal organs. What you'll learn in the movie is that their DNA is being restructured by it. Interesting, right? They seem to be doing that a lot, facing one particular direction. Can you guess? Can you guess which direction they all face in? Stellar Shriner says, I would like to exit my pod now, please. Jeffrey Bale says Raccoon City. Yeah, just like in Raccoon City, too. Almando Stokes says, Jay, believe me, Siberia is a very, very special place on Earth. Anomalies are a normal thing there. Escape from Babylon, just subscribe too. Welcome. All right, let's get back to the movie here. So they're all facing one direction, right? And she starts trying to tell this guy who's in charge, this military head honcho. She's like, listen, there was another explosion just like this. It was off in Russia, okay? Chelyabinsk. Yeah, Chelyabinsk, Russia. That's right. The Russians are hiding something? You think it's the Russians? This wasn't an accident, she says. That's a very interesting theory. He starts getting really condescending. He says, how did you come up with this theory? She says, I found a report online. Online. Okay. Yeah, I get it. So, immediately, I told you, this lady's just like you and I. People like us who do independent research. It doesn't mean we believe every single thing that we come across or that we're told or that we read or see or whatever video we happen to have watched. It means we constantly add to the library of our minds. We're constantly growing and accumulating more and more information to get more pieces to put them together to make more sense of it so we can see a bigger picture than most of you do. And that's this lady. This guy right here represents the whole rest of the world. Oh, the internet. Like, what a hypocritical world, man. Like, the internet is the savior of the world when it wants it to be. But the second you introduce something that goes against the grain, they're like, oh, where'd you get that? The internet? You might as well say the garbage, right? The dark web. Oh, the dark web, huh? The dark web, huh? Right? Jeez, man, these people crack me up. Then they go to this shot of the Capitol building there. We got like a lightning rod in the background and a dome that is intentionally built like this to draw energy from the sky, in case you didn't know that. So here's the president in the movie. He says they have no heartbeat, no respiration, no detectable signs of any brain functionality. They don't eat. They don't sleep. Now, aside from the brain functionality, I want to comment on this real quick. I believe, it's one of my theories, that when we go through the next apocalyptic cycle, that our world will be reinvigorated with so much energy. You won't need to sleep. You might not even need to eat. And I'm sure it's going to have amazing healing properties on the body. So he says, what exactly is moving them? Well, what exactly moves us, right? You think it's just the muscle? Is it the bone? Is it the blood? Is it the skin? What is it that actually makes the hand move? Could it be the spirit? So he says, we're talking about resequencing DNA in what used to be red blood cells. That's right, a purposeful resequencing. We believe the DNA is being deliberately modified. So those people who came back to life, who are risen, who are resurrected for, there's so many ways to say that, right? Their DNA is literally changing, right? They're getting, in theory, better bodies. It says it's changing into an unknown DNA sequence. Interesting. Now, there's a lot of people out there that speculate about when the world comes to an end or the next era comes, or whatever, after the apocalypse, essentially, that they believe that our DNA is going to be activated and it's going to change and become stronger and better, and that right now, essentially, our DNA is kind of crappy and garbage in comparison, right? So this movie sort of implies that it supports that theory, at least in their movie world. Now, she's giving them all this information. She's talking to the president and all his cabinet, right? Humpty Dumpty and all the 12 men, all the king's men or whatever. And the president says, do you have any other evidence to support this other than what's on YouTube or a couple of photoshopped images? Wow. Again, with the YouTube research, right? Again, with the internet research. Now, see, this time they're specifically calling out YouTube, making it look like if you get any kind of alternative insight into the world that we live in and it came from this particular platform, it can't be trusted, right? It's not stamped with the official stamp of approval or whatever. Okay, I think that's really interesting that they mention this in the movie, and that's what their movie world is like. That's all I'm saying. That's what happened in the movie, right? Is the movie saying something? All right, so the girl has a flashback, the NASA chick. She has a flashback to when she was a little girl. She's walking with her dad through some underground secret tunnel, and he says, don't tell anyone about this. This is a secret place. She snaps out of it. She's getting drunk in her car. The rain's beating against the window, and she says, there's a cop right there, right? She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's snapping out of it because the cop beats on the window. She says, I was just looking for my ID. That's not accidental. She's trying to find herself, right? She's lost because she hasn't found her true identity, who she is and why she's here. She doesn't understand her purpose. She feels out of place. So she turns to substances to just forget about it and, you know what I mean, get distracted and lose her mind in the alcohol or whatever else, she might be into or whatever, because she's depressed, she's heartbroken, she's sad. She doesn't understand what's going on in the world, and she can't even understand what she's doing here because she feels so out of place. I can relate. So she takes one to the face and goes about trying to find herself some more. And then they had noticed they're all facing north. All the dead people, they're all facing in the direction of north. So this lady on the news up here, you can't see her on there, but she's just right to the right of the picture. They show this huge thing growing up out of the ground. Remember that tiny little seed that looked like the little letter Y? Right? Peace sign, boom. That little tiny seed, that seedling, it grew up. Those are helicopters in the air right next to it. It's bigger than skyscrapers, and it keeps growing. It's just hovering over. It's so big, it just grows right up into the sky, right? And this huge, huge thing grows up. So they do a close-up on the local town. You see a helicopter, and you see this mountain, and they just make it look like a caldera, right? And then up out of that caldera is growing, or it looks like it is in the movie, this tree of life that stretches up into the heavens. Like right down here, these are all like buildings and stuff, okay? Those are the cityscape right down there. This thing's huge. It just grows right up out of the ground. There's a close-up picture of it. And there's some people down there towards the base, right? So they go up to it. They bring one of those one of those risen dead guys. They bring the main guy. And they figure they're all facing north, so if we bring one in front of it, maybe they'll snap out of it. Maybe they'll do something, And he does do something. He opens his eyes, and they're just solid blue, okay? I believe that eyes can change color after the apocalypse, right? During each one of these resets. When we have so much energy in the world, you will see people's soul through their eyes. Their eyes will light up. And the cool thing, I think, one of my theories is that if they're good, they light up blue. If they're not, they light up red. I don't know. It's just a theory. I'm just, it's a guess. But what isn't, right? So this guy's eyes light up blue, even though they sort of make him out to be like the antagonist or the bad guy. He's not. He's there to help this tree of life grow. He's here to help that alien plant grow. Now, the rest of our world sees it as some sort of hostile alien takeover or whatever. It's not what's happening, though. So this guy starts to snap out of it when they bring him in front of the tree of life, which is what that is, essentially. He looks at his hands. Now, remember, they make him this pasty pale white color because he also symbolizes those space beings, okay? Beings that come down here from other places during this apocalyptic event, and they tend to be this kind of a color, essentially. It's where you get your killer clown symbolism and stuff like that, right? So he's checking out his hands. He's looking at everything. He looks up at the blue beam. Boom, like, wow, the tree of life. There it is. And he says, I cannot go back with you. He's talking to the humans that brought him, right? They have to wear special gear because they cannot breathe the atmosphere that's around this huge reed growing up out of the ground. This guy can. This is actually what he's used to. He can breathe now. He's coming to life. And he says, if I go back with you, I won't survive your environment. Right? He doesn't want to go back to that world. Shoot, I don't blame him. All right. So she's logging it all away. She makes her reports, and she's like, our atmosphere is not good for them. But when they get close to this tree of life, it's life-giving for them. They literally call it life-giving. It's a tree that's life-giving, right? Hey, what's up, Henry? Thanks a lot for the donation. I appreciate you, man. That's awesome. Sweet. I'm gonna get some dinner tonight. Thank you. Almondo says, I have light brown/green eyes, but I support your theory, Jay. Well, mine are green. I don't know if you could tell. Right? I don't know if you could tell. But anyways, mine are green. Yeah, and I think that there's the color of eyes is really interesting to look into. Going back into the history. All right, so they say our closest neighboring star is 4.2 light years away. Right? So these are people who are looking at the sky, thinking they're looking through the sky, right? How did they reach us out here, right? That's a typical alien crowd question. How did they get here so fast, right? If those stars are as far away as you say, aliens should, theoretically, never be able to really reach here. Like, we'll probably never see them, right? That's just, one of many different theories about aliens and stuff. How did they get here if they're so far away? Well, it stands to reason that they're not so far away, right? That they're nearby and way closer than we ever thought. So she's talking about wormholes that exist in space. Now, I hear wormholes and I hear plasma conduit. That's what I think of. Each world depressurizes, the ceiling on it blows off or the sky blows out, and it creates an opening that you can now go into where there are plasma vortices up there swirling around, and it makes a plasma tunnel that you could ride like a water slide to other worlds out there and land safely in some other world, because they all experience this at the same time and they all lose their gravitational pull for a bit. So you just float down into the other world. A wormhole is a tunnel that creates a shortcut, exactly how I just described, for long journeys across the universe. So the reporter says, are you saying that if these victims, the resurrected, were taken to this tree object, they'd also communicate or show signs of life? Interesting, right? So you know how like we talk about symbolically that we feel like we're already in a world of Walking Dead or zombies? This movie is indicating that if you take them to the tree of life, that they'll snap out of it. Oh, this is a close-up of her telephone. It's her therapist on the line saying that, sorry, we ran out of time. I want to talk to you more about these flashbacks that you're having. Now, listen, she's talking about the girl's flashback, the NASA girl, right? They show a picture of a bird, and then the next thing she says, the dreams that you're having. You also mentioned flying. Now, flying normally represents a sense of freedom, blah, 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 blah. Now, this therapist is giving her little 2 cents, her little therapeutic BS, in my opinion. Yeah, flying means that you want to be more free and this and that. Yes, fractally, these things are true, okay? But it also represents literally losing the gravitational pull on our world, on the surface of our world, and things flying, things floating, and not being able to come down. Man, it's so much symbolism with that in different movies. I took a picture of this. This is in her little house. She's got her little telescope setting up. But on the TV, it gave a phone number and said 555. I want you to know the Roman numeral 5 is the letter V. The letter V is actually the letter Vav. The letter Vav is actually the number 6. So isn't that interesting? When you see 555, it's actually symbolic for 666. Interesting, right? So here's her dad. He stops by. He's like, oh, I see you got a little telescope action going on. Let me check this out. And she's like, the cap's on. Let's rewind that. Oh, telescope action. Let me just go ahead and check this out. Now, this seems insignificant, but I'm going to play it. I'm going to play this a couple of times. This guy represents everyone else in the world besides us. They want to look out into space, so they go, let me check it out. Boom. And they stare at a barrier. And they think in their head, they're looking way out into the far reaches of wherever. But then we're like, the cap's on, bro. Like, those are nice and everything, but just wait till you take the cap off. Then you'll really see. Anyway, so their dad starts telling her a story about when she was 8 years old. Now, he's about to be a condescending father figure here. He's like, you were 8 years old, and I asked what you wanted for your birthday. Look at her. She's already devastated by whatever story he's about to tell. No wonder she's so messed up, man. Let's hear what the dad says. Maybe he'll be encouraging. Maybe he'll be loving, and, let's find out. I asked what you wanted for your birthday. You asked for a science lab. Not a pony, not a bike or a Barbie doll, but a lab. What the fudge? Are you serious? Why is this? I would be so proud. This is how I know this girl, regardless if she works for NASA in the movie or not, this is us. This is me. This movie is about us. It's talking straight to us, right? I would be proud if my son or daughter wanted a science lab for their birthday or Christmas or whatever, instead of a pony or a freaking Barbie doll or whatever, right? He goes on to say, your passion, your obsession with science and space, things got out of hand, right? Anyways, that was the little backstory with her dad, right? And that's one of the reasons why she's drinking so much. And she's like, fudge, man, I don't belong in this world. This place is crazy. So the dude who's in charge is like, hey, the tree of life and the dead guy who came back to life, they just want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to anybody else, right? So the CIA, FBI, they can't get through. But she goes out there. She's dressed in this little radiation suit, etc., because she's not yet accumulated. She's not accustomed to the new environment, right? So that she's sitting down in front of the tree of life right here next to this dead guy who's alive now. And he said, our home was no longer habitable for our species. We searched for a new home. Now, time out. That's true. If he represents the Fantazoids that enter into our world from above and drop down from some other world, that means it's likely, right? One could say that they left that world because they also went through their very own plasma apocalypse. Their world was not habitable. They came down into this one. We searched for a new home. We found one. It's just silent. I don't know why I took that picture. She says, why Earth? Oh, I think sometimes I'm just trying to take the picture so fast because I'm screenshotting or whatever. She says, why Earth? And look at his response. It doesn't grow anywhere else. It. He just calls it. Just like in Stephen King's, Pennywise and A Wrinkle in Time and all this stuff. These cosmic anomalies are usually referred to as it, simply put. He says it doesn't grow anywhere else. So, why Earth? Because it, the tree of life, doesn't grow anywhere else. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't he have had one back on his home planet? Yes. Stands to reason, right? So that means that he's also from Earth, because it doesn't grow anywhere else, which means it stands to reason that there's more than one Earth, that there's many Earths. Now, these guys walk up with a big old syringe and stick it in the tree of life to take some samples, right? How do you think the dead guy's going to feel about that? Not happy. What the... Oh my God, he's super pissed. He's like, ask them to leave? Like, that's the nicest possible way. Oh my God, ooh. He's like, ask them to leave, right? She's like, nah, they're not going to leave. Trust me, they're not going to listen to me. They're just going to take their sample or whatever. So he's like, we come from a hostile world. Like, he starts getting real. He took it super personal that they just messed with this tree of life. We will not descend in peace, he says. Now, time out. We currently live in the upside down. We currently live in the upside down, which to me means that a lot of the things that I get from them, from the media, etc., are the exact opposite, I have found, than what they're portrayed as. So if the guy in the movie who's supposed to make it look like he's the bad guy is like mad and he says, we will not descend in peace, does that mean that I'm supposed to think that the alien invaders are all just evil and I need to get ready to shoot the alien bad guys or whatever? That's what they're telling us, right? This has multiple layers to it. Me, I sympathize with this guy. I'm like, yeah, screw that. Don't touch the tree of life. Get back off that thing, man. That's not for everybody. Like, you know what I mean? That's just me. But he's like, we will not descend in peace. He's saying your version of peace. Your earthly world's version of what you call peace. No, that's not us. We don't just submit. We don't just lie down and take it and say, may I have another? Please keep screwing me over. Please keep poisoning me. Please keep hurting me and taking my children away and ruining life and breaking my back. That's not peace. Yeah. See how you can see it from another angle now? So anyways, they pan out. Now I took a picture of this because this is supposed to be Pennsylvania, but to me it looks more like the moon. At least the moon as it was portrayed back in the late 60s, early 70s. And when I say the moon, I mean floodlight and all. He's like, we have abilities. And then all of a sudden, this dude that took the sample, something starts going crazy. This high-pitched ringing sound goes off. He starts undoing his own thing, letting all that poisonous air into his suit. They're like, shoot him, shoot him. And he's like, oh, no, 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 no. His eyes turn black, or the pupil just goes, fills up his whole eye, right? All of a sudden, he takes control of their minds. Every single one of these people who is just surrounding him, they all start to pull their guns on each other. They start turning on each other. Now, this is also Plasma Apocalypse. Hey, let's check you out. Unlearn the System has been a member of the Good Vibe Tribe for over 37 months. Look at that. That's amazing. 37 months. It doesn't say it up there, but that's 3 years. I'm going to do something special for you in the credits, just so you know. Anyways, congratulations. And thanks for all your support, too. So anyways, these people, they turn on each other, right? Now, this is symbolic of what happens just before the end, okay? It's symbolic of a few different things. One, it's plasma possession, right? Mind control at its simplest, which is interesting because these people are government workers. They work for govern the mind, government. They are literally government employees or mind control employees. He literally controls their mind now and gets them to all turn on one another, which is something that happens when the energy in our world becomes amplified, usually just before the end, right? For example, the times we live in right now. Or if you're a Bible fan, it says that mother will turn against mother and brother against brother, and however it's saying, I'm paraphrasing. But that's happening now. We can see that happening. So he takes control of their minds. He just has them all kill one another. It's no problem. So they send in the big guns, the airplanes. Jets are coming in to just shoot the tree of life to take it out, right? So on the screen, you can see this is the little dead guy / alien Fantazoid guy. He's right there, a little tiny dot. Over here, you can see the tree the base of the tree and the roots growing up and everything, right? You could see it's a huge tree. So here's another picture of it. Now, this guy's like aiming in. He's like, Eagle 1, Fox 2. And they all shoot their missiles at it, right? Boom, shoots the missile. This guy just looks up at it like, now you can see the tree of life right here. It's sort of curved right there, right? And they see their missile shooting it. There's a dome of energy surrounding it. Their missiles cannot get in. Their missiles cannot penetrate that dome that was created around the tree of life. He says, it's created a shield around it. Interesting. There's a shield around the tree of life. So here's my theory about that. I believe that the tree of life comes from a magnetic mountain called Rupus Negra, or aka what I like to call the plasma volcano. Because it's a magnetic mountain, it automatically creates a dome of magnetism around it, right? Anyways, that's one of those things. That's a mini version of what actually may lie all the way around our sky, which is nature's natural protective barrier. So this guy says, now what in the world is going on? Now this is like a guy from the news, right? You're watching like the news. They're like, what in the world's going on? Now listen, they're talking to you. They're talking straight to you. They're not talking, it's not a part of the movie. This is disclosure talking to you. Mother Dragon, look at you. How'd you do that? I don't know how you guys are doing that. That's cool. I'm putting that up there. So check this out. Mother Dragon has been a member for 34 months. This is amazing. I love seeing this. This is cool. I get so excited. Thank you. I have been honored to know you guys for so long and to get to know you for so long. Anyways, back to the movie. So this guy says, what in the world's going on? Now they're going to show you a lot of the signs. There have been a number of cases of strange events being reported all around the world. Let's start with these weird sounds. So now the movie's saying that in the movie, during this weird apocalyptic event and this tree growing up out of the ground, there's weird sounds being heard all around the world. And they show you like videos of people holding their cameras up at the sky and you hear all those weird sounds. And they're like, I think it's coming from the sky. Well, wait a minute. Why would weird sounds be coming from the sky in this movie if it's just a meteorite that hit the earth and it's just some tree growing up out of the ground? Why would weird sounds be coming from the sky? Almondo, look at you. Welcome, Almondo. It's good to see you. It doesn't tell me how long you've been a member for. I'm sorry. So what exactly is everyone hearing? They ask you this question. They're asking you. You know why they're asking you? Because they know you don't know. They're prompting you to look into it. They're prompting you to research it, just like the lady did on her own. She got on Google, she got on YouTube, whatever. She did her own independent research. It doesn't have to be. You could go to the library, you can go wherever, right? Female reporter says, we've just received some reports of a mysterious fog, or some call it a thick smoke. Whew. Time out. Time out, everyone. Wait a minute. First, we had strange sky sounds, right? Then we have a thick smoke or fog. In Islam, they say that a smoke will cover the world during the end or right around Judgment Day. And this is simply the air depressurizing. It turns into fog. That's what happens when we have planetary worldwide rapid depressurization. You'll see fog just start appearing and manifesting out of nowhere. Mist all over the place. It says that's just appearing out of nowhere and killing people. Now, this particular fog that they're talking about is killing people. I don't know if all the fog will do that, but there's a good reason why in the Bible it said, God commanded the Israelites, go into your houses, like get away, lock yourself in your room and stay in there, right? There's a lot of poisonous gases that'll be released. There's literally plasma that's creeping about, seeking to possess people, etc. What else did we have in this movie? The governor ordered shutting down all non-essential businesses. That's pretty much... Now remember, algorithm, that's what the movie is saying, not what I'm saying. That's what the movie is saying. So in the movie, the governor ordered shutting down all non-essential businesses. and telling people to remain in their homes. Now, I hear a lot of speculation from various sides of people in this world who are like, oh, this is all bad. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. What if they're not? I mean, like if you had a bunch of slaves, and you knew that there was a storm coming, wouldn't you want to protect them? I'm just playing the devil's advocate. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, there might be two sides to every story. Martial law has been declared. Now, wait a minute. Of all the things that we've just gone over, keep your eyes out, right? Keep your eyes out. This guy says, I can actually feel the ground vibrating. Now, they're not showing you earthquakes or anything in this movie. They're showing you people like recording the ground vibrating. Not just an earthquake. Because when you think of worldwide earthquakes, you probably think of like 12.0 on the Richter scale and everything's just cracking open. I mean, yes, that might happen. But because it's happening worldwide in all of the fault lines or whatever, the rest of the world might experience vibrating ground, right? In which case, if you do, beware, because liquefaction will occur. You'll see water just squirt right up out of the ground. It'll become super muddy. You could sink easily. Be careful. He says, do you feel that? The ground's vibrating. So back to the NASA lady, right? She goes back home to her old lab. It says Lauren's lab. Remember, Lauren means wisdom. And her lab is locked up. This is like a little piece of her mind, or her piece of mind, right? See how I did that? Yes. Anyways, it's just like her piece of her mind, right? This room is a room in her mind. This is a piece of her identity, who she is. Her parents locked up this room when she was a kid. She had a little laboratory that she created, right? All by herself. And she walks away and she's just like talking to herself. What am I? What am I? And then she starts talking to you. This is where the movie starts talking directly to you. And by you, I mean me. And I mean us, right? She says, do you ever feel like you're suffocating and you want to crawl out of your own skin, but you're trapped in your own body, like you're abandoned and you don't belong anywhere? The world is coming to an end. But why is it that I'm feeling a sense of relief? Like I'm finally being put out of my misery. Like I can finally breathe. I used to think that my answers lay someplace in a distant space, like off in space, actually. Hold on. Now, it's getting deep. I just want to stop her real quick, okay? Time out real quick. Let's rewind this, because this is huge. This is the whole point of the movie. The movie is not about the apocalypse. The movie is not about the world tree growing up out of the middle of the ground. I mean, it is about those things, but it's mostly about us, our walk, our sense of not belonging, our sense that the world's off and something's not right and we don't vibe with it, right? Do you ever feel like you're trapped in your own body? Like you're abandoned and you don't belong anywhere? This lady is you. This lady is me. Looking around, feeling like a stranger. It reminds me of a Henry Jones Sr. on what's that movie? Indiana Jones, right? Well, he says to Indiana Jones, he says, "My boy, we're pilgrims in an unholy land." I don't know how to do it, but that's what it reminds me of. So she says the world's coming to an end, but why do I feel such a sense of relief, like I'm being put out of my misery and like I can finally breathe? Let me answer that question, lady, or self. The reason that I personally feel such a sense of relief, seeing it all fall apart, is because I know it's cyclical and I know it's going to get better. I know that the golden age comes right after the destruction. I know that as long as I survive and I get through it, I'll feel at home again. I'll live in a world full of magic without restraints or laws or any of this stuff. Oh, check this out. We just got Miriam Flynn. Welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe, Miriam. Whatever Tube also says we're alone, but we truthers are alone together. That's right. So check this out. She says, I used to think that my answers were way out in space. That's why she became a NASA lady, right? she figured that like life's answers, there has to be meaning out there in the blackness of the nothingness of whatever, right? Of the nothing. She says, out there among the stars, but for the first time, now watch how the picture changes. I feel that the truth is finally within my reach, right here. So instead of looking way out into the dome and looking into the crystal ball and just trying to see things up there, right? She encourages us to look inward. Not just inward here, which should be first and foremost. That way you don't feel like you're a stranger no matter where you go. You're always at home. But to look inward in our world. Look to the inner parts of our world, or look to the center of our world, which is where this grows every other apocalyptic cycle. Right? That's where we find the meaning. This right here is the root, literally, the root of all of our myths and legends about the stories of creation. At least to me, it seems like it. So she walks up to the dead Fantazoid dude. She reaches out to touch his hand, just like in the picture, you know, the famous painting or whatever, where the Adam and God are about to touch fingers and, you know. I always feel like one of them rubbed their feet on the carpet really hard right before they took that picture. Anyways, so she reaches out, touches this alien dude, and all of a sudden she remembers. Remember how I said her dad took her to some secret place when she was a kid? So she has this flashback of her dad. And someone's telling her dad that it was shot and killed early this morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning in northern Alaska, sir. Isn't that interesting? Synchronicity. We just did a video about Roy Rogers? No. What was that dude's name? I forget. The Shrine of the Sun, right? We were doing that Shrine of the Sun video, and we talked about those famous celebrities that died in the 20s way up in northern Alaska for some strange reason. They shouldn't have been up there, right? And they go on to tell him an unidentified flying object was reported by the locals. So they say, welcome to Area 51, Senator. And that's the girl who would grow up to work at NASA right here. She doesn't remember any of this. But the second she touched that alien, it was like Spock did the mind meld deal on her, right? Anyway, so she starts to remember that her dad was in charge of Area 51. She was taken down there and she saw this giant alien creature, right? Yeah, she's standing way off in the background over here. There's a huge alien creature in a tank that they had. She goes to like put her hand on the tank and there's this flash and her DNA starts to restructure and change and her eye turns black. And all of a sudden somebody finds her and like, hey, little girl, get out of there, or whatever. But what had happened is that alien possibly transferred some of its energy or life force into that little girl. And so she grew up with more spirit. She grew up with more energy or a stronger soul, which came from that alien being in the movie. Now, why is that important? See how she says, my God? People always do that in the movie. When they see something, usually it's a blue beam or something. It's all kinds of different stuff. But they'll say, my God. And we take it as just an exclamation like, oh no, or oh wow. No. Well, wow could be an exception. But they're literally calling these things my God, my Savior, my whatever, my leader, my hero, whatever. Anyways, this little girl grew up with an influx of energy that not most other people had. And therefore, she was in tune to herself and the world around us. She knew that she was different and the rest of the world was all the same. So that led to her not understanding why, not getting any kind of a clue whatsoever. I'm here to give you guys the clue. If you feel like this is a high probability of why you're feeling like this. You have a strong soul. You have a strong energy. You have a strong spirit. It's hard for you to sleep. You know why? Because people with a lot of energy don't need to sleep. Hands down. Boom. You sleep so that your body can reset itself to try to get through another 8 hours of work or whatever it is that people do. That's why people have trouble sleeping. That's why we hear the ringing in our ears. That's why we feel so different. That's why we can sense things. Sometimes almost just predicting them if we would have just spoken what we were feeling or thinking. So they say, my God, what is that? Right? And they're looking at these schematics in her laboratory when she was a kid. He's like, it's a blueprint. She's 8 years old, for God's sakes. These are the parents of the world today. Not me, okay? Now, many of you know currently as I make this live stream, I'm going through all kinds of custody issues with my kid and stuff like that. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's very much similar, right? I would congratulate my son if he built an entire laboratory in his room at 8 years old. I'd take pictures. I would catalog it. Like, I would be so proud. These parents are like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's the matter with them, right? And they lock up her laboratory and stuff. So they talk to her principal at school, and the principal says she seems to be showing an interest in science and extraterrestrial life. Oh, heaven forbid, right? And then she's writing all over her walls, right? She has so much going on in her head, so many thoughts. She's coming up with revelation after revelation. She can't contain it. She starts just drawing, writing notes after notes after notes to the point where she's writing on the wall itself. Have you ever done that? I mean it. Have you ever just ran out of room? You're writing on books. You're writing on, I mean, I write on my refrigerator. Like, you know what I mean? You're just overwhelmed with so many senses. For some people, it might be analytical thoughts. Some people, it's revelations and ideas. Some people, it's just feeling. So they say not just the students, but also some of the teachers. She has the ability to manipulate them, right? She has a strong spirit. She can easily extend her aura out and touch the spirit of others, right? She also says that she's an alien, right? And she wants to go home. Poor kid. Man, poor kid. I'm talking to you. I'm not talking about this girl, the actor in the movie. Poor kid. I know you want to go home. And we will, right? But just remember, we have to figure out our purpose, who we are and why we feel so different. If you know you feel different, that means you have a clear-cut purpose here. There's reason for it. Figure it out and you'll feel a lot better about being here. And then no matter where you go, you'll always feel like you're at home. There'll always be a better place, you know, somewhere where we're more comfortable. But hey, life moves up and down, right? It's in flux all of the time. So if it sucks right now, it can only go up. It can only get better from here, right? Let's see here. Armando Stokes says, it's fear. You are just less afraid, Jay. I say, I had the same problems with my parents. They depressed me in things that I wanted to develop for my future as a child. I think a lot of people can relate, so I wanted to share this particular movie. So the Fantazoid dude takes the gas mask off of her. Guess what? She can breathe, right? Now, this is in a lot of other movies as well. I have a feeling like they're telling us there will be a time when they're going to tell you, you can't breathe the air, stay away from this place or that place. It's unbreathable or whatever, right? Is it though? There's one way to find out. So this is her as a little girl. Space is composed, the space above us is composed of 78.09% nitrogen. Time out. 1, that's impressive for a little girl of 8 years old to know. 2, that's a lot of nitrogen. In the sky, you're breathing mostly that. That's in our direct layer of homogeneous atmosphere that we're breathing in right now. A lot of nitrogen. Imagine what kinds of things nitrogen reacts to. And then imagine what kind of chemical reactions we may have in an apocalyptic event worldwide where brand new gases are being introduced into that nitrogen from below and ionized gases from above. So it cuts to a scene of this lady who's in this magical forest, I guess you could call it. And they say strange objects are appearing around the world. Look at the strange object. It's literally an egg-shaped rock just sitting there. And it's not just in the forest. It's at the beach, including Australia and Greenland. They're appearing everywhere. In forests, in the Sahara Desert, farms, lakes, major cities. Now, they start showing you a drawing. I think I took a better picture of that drawing in a bit. I'll show you in a minute. Let's see. That has been shown to me. It's the shape of an egg. So there's these rock eggs that just pop up all over the world. Strange noises are being confirmed around the world. They don't understand what it is. They show you all these pictures of all these eggs, right? And they speculate that there's like aliens living inside of these little rock pod things, right? And that the aliens are ready to come out any second now. See, there's one right there. And there's one right there. And then boom, they sort of make these weird explosions. I don't think they explode though. I don't remember. Let me see if I took a picture. Did they? No. Anyways, so all this black smoke comes out of them, and the smoke starts to kill people and stuff. And they say that they're changing the atmosphere so that the aliens or whatever can breathe in our world. Might not be far from the truth. So here's an explosion. Let's see. They describe it as a wave of energy or smoke. So it doesn't have to be smoke the way that they depicted it here, but it's just a wave of energy, right? And it says it's just bursting through the towns and killing people. They're creating a habitable environment for themselves before they pop out. Okay? And all of these little seed-looking things, these rock seeds, right? I'm going to get to a point here in just a second, are connected to these roots. Where did these roots come from? Now, you see this, somebody was drawing a picture, and you see all the roots and stuff, but at the top is that world tree. It's upside down. These two pieces that shoot out of the top in the movie are actually the roots shooting up out of our world. And the rest of the world tree goes throughout the land, throughout the earth itself, right? Now, imagine this. Let's imagine that up here, that's the North Pole. And then that's the main, columns that shoot up out of the middle. But what's the rest of this then? It's all connected. Cavernous systems throughout our world. Most of them having stories of holy sites and interesting beings and stuff, and different lights that used to emanate from them and stuff. Very interesting. So where did these roots come from, he says? Earth no longer supports life for human species. Since the invasion, I'm on my last oxygen tank. Somebody has an oxygen tank. Interesting. Now, the little rock egg thing cracks open. And then they show you a shot of the sky. This right here is like a blurry shot of the sky, and these are like trees on each side or whatever. However, do you see how it makes the Vav? And it also is telling your subconscious that the sky is cracked open. That's what this shot represents, especially right before this shot of the egg that's cracked open. Our sky cracks open like an egg. The moon, which is the sky of our sister world, also will crack open. It's said in many different ancient myths, legends, and religious texts. So then they show you the mist, the forest, the magic forest, where she says, I'm finally home. And then, boom. This is the last image of the movie. There's sort of these wings that grow up out of the middle of this silhouetted tree. Just like the tree of life. Branches out towards the top. It looks like Thunderbird. It looks like Totem Pole. It looks like all kinds of stuff. Different birds and stuff like that too. And that is our presentation on the movie Risen. What'd you guys think? Sweet movie, right? Especially how much it's just chock full of plasma apocalypse symbolism. Man, I probably watched this movie 3 times already. Once to study and just 2 just to watch, right? The first time I watched it, I'm like, no way. Every time something crazy new happened, I'm like, no way, this is insane, right? Why would they make this huge blockbuster movie about some lame root that grows up out of the ground? It's real big, doesn't really do anything. It just kind of drops these seeds off. Oh, I want to talk about those seeds too. What are the name of those seeds? I know you guys have probably already said it in the chat, but there are literally rock balls. You know what? Let's look it up. There's rock balls all over the world that I believe look just like seeds, right? Hold on. Let's do that again. Let me just share a little bit here. Window capture. Boom. We'll go there. I'm going to pull up a picture just so I can show you what I mean. Stone spheres. I mean, they're called different things. Stone spheres, rock balls, whatever. Rock lobster? No. Let's see what we got. Boom. And 1 second, please. Boom. Here we go. All right, check this out. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. Okay, uno momento. I'm going to actually fix this so you can see it nice here. Well, it doesn't really work that great, does it? Can I move it? Uh-oh. I don't know what I just did here. Oh, I moved the wrong thing. Okay, I see. My bad. Okay, now let's make this so we can all share in this. Booyah. Now, I'm just on Google right now. You see, these are, I typed in rock balls around the world. You could type in stone balls, stone spheres. There are so many. And they're everywhere. And they're like these perfect spheres. Now, I myself, this is aside from the movie, you know, this is sort of beside the point. But I was earlier today walking around and I saw that there's a construction project and people had all of these stones that they laid out, you know, as decoration. And I'm like, why are all these stones and rocks so smooth? I know academia has taught me. Academia says that they're smooth because, you know, they all come from the river, I guess. And like the water just smooths it all out over millions of years and time and etc., right? Why are so many of these stones and rocks and stuff so smooth? Well, I have a theory about that. I believe that these boulders originate in the sky. That they go up, just blobs at zero gravity, right? Blobs of it's like rain, but it's going up, right? And sand and dirt and mud, they all mix together and stuff during zero gravity. They go up high enough, they get zapped by a strong electric current from above, and boom, petrify instantly, turning into many stones and rocks that you see today. But anyways, these ones seem to be something else entirely to me. Or at least something similar. I don't know. To me, I've always kind of thought that they look like seeds. What do you guys think? I'm not sure. Cool stuff, though. I hope you enjoyed that. I totally loved the movie. I highly recommend it. Check it out if you get a chance. If you get the chance to watch this movie, it's pretty sweet. Just to give you a heads up, we're going to be doing a lot more of the call-in segment. I am finishing up the credits for the Solstice edition, if you want to call it that, the winter edition. And I love you guys. Thanks for joining my channel. Thanks for hanging out and talking with me. I had a great time. And until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.